Welcome to Heather Ewing, the CRE Rundown. I am your host, Heather Ewing, and I thought I would take an opportunity for this podcast for just a little one on one, you and I. So I don't have a guest, but I thought it would be fun to share a little bit more about my journey with running and how it's evolved within commercial real estate for myself, also with my firm, Abstract Commercial Real Estate, here in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. So as I think back, it really started in 2015, the meat of it, but I'm going to take you further back yet. So in my late 20s, I think I was 28, I ran my first marathon with well, she was a friend at the time, who's now my sister-in-law and a friend. And I thought if Oprah can do it, why not myself? So the three of us teamed up and ran the marathon. I hated it. I hated it. And in fact, I swore that I was never going to run a marathon again. So for those of you that know how much I enjoy it now, it's funny, right? But I've noticed a couple of the things I've sworn off in life have later come back. I see it through a new lens, and with that, I have a new appreciation, and with running, a newfound love. So fast forward, I was involved with various exercise from hot yoga, kickboxing, which led me into karate for many years, competing on a national circuit on that, winning different 5-foot trophies and forms and fighting, all the different things. So if you don't know me very well, it would probably take you by surprise that I really did love all of that. But it laid a great foundation, one for confidence, also for discipline. And in my early years of commercial real estate, it was lacking. These days, fast forward 10 plus years, I am very disciplined, but that was not always the case. And with running, it has definitely helped me with that as well. But let's dig into it. So in 2015, I got into retail and restaurants. I was in brokerage a little bit before that, but really the meat of it was 2015. And with the stress levels, I didn't have a book of business. I was self-funded. Everything was on my shoulders in that sense, right? And it was learning a whole new world. And again, no book of business. So it all had to be started from scratch. So with that, there's stress. So I started running. And with that, I was like, oh, I'm sleeping better. Then I'm not sleeping. So you add more miles. And the trend continued. And then at a certain point I was running half marathons, and with that it was fun. Joined up with my sister-in-law, my brother, and it was just a fun thing. So we ended up racing a half marathon from April through November, so approximately 6 per year. And raced, I think about 25, 26 of them. And of those, I pushed hard. I really worked at it. I would place in the top half within my age group. So I got to be what I felt pretty good. And it was nice to see the hard work with a more immediate response. Whereas in commercial real estate, we know the deal terms can take quite a while. So it was nice to see a quicker return on that. Also, with each run, it was nice because it was something you did and you completed. Quick response on that. One of the things I really liked about it too was that with hot yoga and some of these other boutique classes is that you drive 20 minutes. The class is an hour 15, hour and a half. Then you have the drive back. Then you're going through the shower. And it was just very time consuming. So with running, you lace up, throw your clothes on, and you walk out the door. So very simple from beginning to end. You can get a great workout in only 30 minutes by walking out your door. Let's see here. Exercise. So for years, I'd exercised 5 or 6 days a week, would always take a day off. And that was a pretty normal routine for me. And it just felt good to be active. And I'm very grateful for my health. I know the importance of it. And at a very young age, to be really grateful for your health and to treat your body like a temple. That's a whole nother story for another day. Getting back to the running, so I really did enjoy the races, not during, because it was really painful. You're giving it all you've got. But I really enjoyed having the time with family, with friends, the connection. I also liked that I could deliver on it. And again, that tied in really nicely with the long lead times for your celebration with commercial real estate. And with that, like I said, I had sworn marathoning off for 17 years, almost 2 decades. So in 2019, my brother's wife asked me, Heather, do you want to run New York? And I was like, let me think about that. So I slept on it, the proverbial and very real sleeping on it. And with that, I decided, you know what, Heather, you're too comfortable with the half marathons. You've done well. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but I'm like, it's time to get uncomfortable and to shake it up. So I said yes. And years prior, I had also had glute hamstring issues from karate tournament that I'd ripped those out, and they had just always given me problems where I think it was all the fast twitch and I would just rip it out, even with PT, different things. So it was very frustrating. And that was an earlier love of my life. So I decided, all right, we're going to move beyond the fear, move beyond the unknown, and handle things as we go. So 2019 New York, it was my first big marathon. I think there were 51,000 and so many people that ran this race. And my goal was to finish. And with that, just a surreal experience. Again, had never been in a marathon of that magnitude. Madison, I don't know the numbers, probably 2,500. Um, it was almost, gosh, what? Again, it was 12, 13 years ago, 23 years ago. Whew, that math. Anyways, it was mind-boggling. And it was really neat because over you would go through each of the boroughs, but then also some of these different areas, it was neat because you would be part of this big pack and you really had to navigate your footing, where you're going, all of that. And then you would just see a whole nother herd of people coming in and joining in. So there was a lot happening on it. So my goal turned out well. I finished it, and I thought, with so many people having never been to New York at the time, that I was like, there will be so much happening, I won't even feel the pain. And one tip for you is I like to take 3 a leave. I'm not a doctor. This is just what works for me. I take 3 a leave before every race. It's a little trick of the trade for me. But it was a great experience. Really enjoyed it. Was it hard? Of course. Was I in pain? Of course. And I remember having some cramping, different things like that. Had to take my shoe off and stretch and do different things. But I ran across the finish line. So to me, that was a goal accomplished and it felt great. Let's see here. As we advance then, that really started changing things in my mind, and asking more questions about where I was at in commercial real estate, what I wanted to do, what I had done, things of that nature. And then in 2020 is when I founded and opened up Abstract. As you know, COVID was then as well. So April of 2020 is when I opened my doors to a wild flurry of action. And one of the nice things about that was I said, well, you're starting off at quite a time. This is going to show you what you're made of. And the nice thing about that too is I had been doing the same thing for over 5 years, which was really helpful in that ballpark. And I had a can-do attitude. I was like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to create a plan. You're going to execute. You're going to adjust. And you've always made things happen. So why would this be any different? And so I gave it 200%. And that's what counts. So with that, kind of like with marathoning, it's worked out really well between marathons and commercial real estate, especially operating my own firm, that since that, if you want to say a second first, in 2019, I've also ran Berlin, London, Paris, Chicago, and Boston. So now I'm training right now for Milan. So that's very exciting. But with that, it's really, you have a big picture, it's your goal, and you break it down into tactical chunks. And with that, it's nice because you celebrate the small things. I run solo quite a bit, but I also run with my sister-in-law for some of these longer runs. Sometimes I'll run with a group, and each training plan, I use the Hal Higdon, believe it or not, the novice one, which got me through Boston. But a big contributor to that was my sister-in-law, Ruth. She was really my pace car, if you want to say, in a lot of those different training runs. And it was also her belief in me, along with my good friend Petra Killian, that they believed in me, because I remember thinking of like, I don't think I'm cut out for it, but they believed otherwise. And that's really the power of someone believing in you. It can really carry you a long way. So I'm forever grateful to both of them for that. And I also acknowledge that I did those training runs. They were tough, but they were good. And I'm really grateful that I dug in. And I remember running the London Marathon. I PR'd, but I missed Boston. I think the cutoff by like 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, it was so painful. It's one of those, it's a celebration, but really it's not, because I did not hit my big goal in that sense. So after that, I really had a burning desire of like, I am making it to Boston. So in 23, I ran Paris. And I remember for that one too, that I was like, all right, I've done all the training. I've been eating pretty clean, hydration, all those different things. And I'm like, today is the day. So in beautiful Paris, that day did come, and I had a great pace. It was a 8:45 and seconds pace. So I hit my goal on that, which was really exciting. And then when the times came out for Boston, I made the initial cut. Of course, you apply for it and then you wait for weeks, and then you find out if you made the second cut or not. And I did. So that was like, whoop, very exciting. And one of those personal dreams, right? Happening right before your eyes, which is super cool. But we ran Boston. That was tough. It was tough love. And I had looked at the elevation, and it was one of those, I knew about the hills at the end. So in my training, I had trained that way, but I am not the person that dissects elevation. But there was a lot more elevation than I was anticipating through the beginning. So it was kind of interesting. Also, you always hear about the downhills really chewing up your quads. It's true. But it was really neat because I had never ran in a marathon of that caliber where everyone has to have a certain time requirement. In others, there can be time requirements, there can be lottery, people can um, get in through donating to different charities. And that's how I got into New York for that back in 2019. But there's a lot of different methods. But with Boston, it's nice. They keep it to 30,000 or less. And I don't remember the exact numbers of what they allow from people running for charity versus others having to qualify with time only. So it was a really special race, a really great memory, and couldn't tell you how good it felt to also complete that one too. So that was a big deal. Excuse me. It's that time of year. Mhm. So with that, that brings us to the present of Milan. And what we've been doing is having an international marathon in the spring and then a domestic in the fall. So I joke, running year round in Wisconsin is not for the faint of heart. Again, uh, people that don't really know me may think I'm um, frail. Who knows? Right? I'm not a big person, but at the same time, I'm hardy. And I used to actually, funny story, used to be a tomboy. when I was younger, right? So it was me and the boys playing soccer, all these different things. So I've always loved movement and freedom, if you want to say. But anyways, coming back to it is that running through the winter in Wisconsin is not the most exciting thing. If I had to take cold over really hot temps, I would take the cold, I think. I have a new low temp that I've been able to run in, that is 0 degrees here in Wisconsin. But ideal race weather for me, 40, low 40s is ideal. And the nice thing though about it, kind of like commercial real estate, is that you adjust and you learn what tools do I need? What clothing, what gear? Is there anything that I have to put in my water so it doesn't freeze? Luckily, that hasn't happened unless you don't get your lid as tight as you need to, then it freezes onto your jacket or other places. Also, making sure that you have the hydration for days prior, that you're eating real carbs, that you're eating your protein, your greens. I am not vegan, I'm not vegetarian. To each person their own, whatever works for you. I am a protein lover, and that works really well for myself. But it's also, some of the different things too of I love chewing gum when I run. I have for years. I have only swallowed it, I think, 2 or 3 times for all the thousands of miles, all of the marathons. And it's just something that I do, and I really enjoy it. Can I run without it? Yes, but it's not the same experience. So having the right hydration, the right gear, you start to learn which windbreakers, you have some thinner ones when there's just minimal wind, others it goes up and they provide greater coverage from the wind and elements, but you learn what works. Neck coverings. I actually wear a ski mask and I love it because you can change the forehead, through the side, throat, everything. So long story short, maybe I'll do a gear check for you guys on another podcast if you want. With that, what I really love about marathon training is being out in nature. We're indoors so frequently. We're in meetings, we're in networkings, we're touring sites, we're in these different kitchens, working with contractors for build outs. Maybe we're out on land parcels at different times for new development or different things of that nature. But I really do love my time outdoors in nature. To me, it's that place of connection, of peace. And that's where I do solve a lot of the different questions I have, the different real estate. Maybe I'm having a problem in a transaction, or it feels like there's an impasse of getting that creative idea of what can be done or guidance for next steps, things of that nature. So I really do love the outdoors, and it's also really pretty seeing the transition of the weather, the different colors, and looking at the trees and when the flowers are coming up, the lake, especially when it's not frozen, and of course animals, and it's just that connection to life, right? So that's something I really enjoy, and also the human performance. I love that. And again, I'll share this on another one, but just I was in a really bad car accident when I was younger. So I really have a great appreciation that I have the ability to walk, to run, to see, and all of these different things. So human performance, I love to know what I'm made of. And then I like to see of how can I extend that? How can I build my resources mentally, physically, spiritually, otherwise, so that I can perform even better, not only in these races, but obviously in commercial real estate, in the deals, in my personal relationships, business relationships, everything in life. I see it as a performance sport. And I say that in a neat and exciting way versus one of work and having to meet. So I just have a uncanny zest for wanting to know what I'm made of in that sense. And also with the mindset, it's so important. Again, commercial real estate deals can take months, they can take years, and it's really keeping the energy moving forward. And what I mean by that is helping people to remember, what the next steps are if they're starting to get down. Because if it's a newer operator, they're probably not used to all the ups and downs that can be encountered throughout a deal. Or maybe they're bored, right? Really keeping the eye on the prize. Also, sometimes it turns out that A property just may not be the right fit after certain due diligence and things of that nature, which at that case, thanks, but no thanks, right? If it's not the right fit. And keeping the energy also is staying positive, looking for ways to solve the problem, not complaining. And it's really being creative, using deal structures that maybe helped you to win a deal over here or something that really benefited a client over here. Maybe you're speaking on their behalf. Maybe it's a unique type of referral that they need. So it's really keeping that energy and the deal moving forward and making sure that it's still aligning and that it really does check off for the right investment for them. So commercial real estate, like so many things, is a long-term relationship. It's a long-term focus that you want to do the right thing for the person here and now that will continue them on that right path for future work together. Also, marathon running, it really does help in breaking things down. So in my earlier career, many years ago, I spent 11 years in operations, supply chain, and it was seeing the big picture and breaking it down, prioritizing, looking for limiting factors, all those different things that could really disrupt the flow of production and other things. And with that, I take that same vantage point here in commercial real estate, and marathoning ties in perfectly. See the big vision, break it down tactically, look ahead. What are you going to encounter? And when I'm in a marathon, maybe even a long training run or a race, you're checking in your internal body's system of how is it feeling. And as time goes, you are able to discern better of, is it a weak mind or is it a weak body? Where are you feeling it? Is your hydration off? Is it that you need more calories? So it's all these different factors put into one. But I love that marathoning has really helped me to see the big picture, break it down, and tactically address as you go. And it's also understanding how much you have within, and so that you don't consume all of your energy too soon. And that applies to the deals too, right? So much of life, I think, running or with commercial real estate is having your finger on the pulse and understanding where people are at. How are they feeling? What are their fears? What are their concerns? You have all those things in marathons too. So it's checking in and addressing and taking care of things sooner rather than later. It's when things fester that things can get out of control. For example, let's say you have a nagging calf or you have some part of your body that keeps talking to you. You can't just ignore it. We've all done it, and I think runners are notorious for it. But without making sure all of you is working well, there's going to be problems. And at times you need to adjust a run, or maybe you're skipping some runs to take care of something if it is bothering you. You're seeking out the professional that can help you with it. You're making sure that you're stretching, foam rolling. I love taking 4-pound salt baths. They're great, right? It's nice for loosening up muscles. I like to push on some of the different trigger points, work things out. I also have Normatec legs that I got last summer. Those are great too. And so finding different modalities. I am a big fan of red light laser therapy. I've been doing that for years, and I've got another story on that one of why I love it so much. But it takes work to be able to run. And it's one of those, again, I'm 50, so I'm no longer 20s, 30s, 40s, right? And so you'll notice different shifts and changes, but I think so much of the aging process or maturing is really how you care for yourself, your mind, body, spirit. And I always say your relationships and support systems factor into that, along with your career. Are you doing something that fuels you, or is it constant work and drudgery? If you're in that latter, get a new career. If you want to get into commercial real estate, talk to me. I'm happy to share the pluses and the minuses and answer any questions that you might have. And of course, big advocate of movement. I have found running works really well for me. I like it from the time attributes. When I do travel on business trips, it's easy to pack my tennies and whatever else I need and run from there as well. So running can be a great companion. I suggest people lace up, do whatever feels right for you. If you want more of these running marathon training chats, whatever you want to know in these realms. I would love to hear from you. So please drop it in the comments below. And thank you for joining me on Heather Ewing, the CRE Rundown, this heart to heart moment that we're able to share here. And look for more podcasts with a lot of great guests in the coming episodes and years. Thanks.